He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and a New York Times best-selling author. And on this podcast, he brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests. He's Alex Marlow, and this is The Alex Marlow Show.
Welcome to The Marlow Show. Thank you for being here. Appreciate all of you in the audience for subscribing, leaving 5-star reviews, telling 10,000 friends and family members. That's the most important thing. We've got some big stuff coming up for the show with the release of Breaking the Law coming out in 2 weeks. But for the next week, I'm going to be on the road. It's going to be Hawaiian Shirt Thursday and Hawaiian Shirt Friday and then Hawaiian Shirt Saturday. But actually, while I'm in Hawaii, so any of you, if you're in Hawaii, just stop by, say hi. But it is family vacation time, so I will be there. And I'll be keeping an eye on the news sometimes, and I always reserve the right to come in. I'll travel with my microphone to make sure that I am ready to rock if news breaks out and I feel like I need to get behind the mic. But we've got some great shows lined up for you. I've done some long-form interviews I've kept in the can that you'll enjoy. Matt Boyle will be here for a show tomorrow hosting. Emma Jo Morris will be here next week hosting as well. So we'll get you some hot content for your feeds, and thanks for sticking with me while I take a little bit of a breather before all of the heat starts kicking up as I get ready to launch my third book, and hopefully biggest ever. Probably my most urgent book of the three that I've written, the one that maybe needed to be written because it really is a part of, I think, an existential threat to our country that's going on right now. And I won't start there. I'll come right back to that because I think it is, I'll do like a reverse segue, it's sort of clumsy, but I'll start with the biggest news item of the day. And I'll tell you how it dovetails into Breaking the Law, my lawfare expose about the weaponization of government against President Trump. We learned today more details of Tulsi Gabbard's bombshell reporting as Director of National Intelligence, proof that the Obama administration manufactured the Russia hoax, and that there was zero direct evidence that Vladimir Putin sought to help Trump in 2016. This is, of course, things that we could have ascertained from just being mildly observant, and I think it vindicates a lot of the reporting by Breitbart, by colleagues like Peter Schweitzer, and so many people in conservative media who were dogged and undaunted by the intimidation of the establishment of the Democrat Party and the media to suggest that the Russia hoax was real. Maybe there was something to it. I should definitely bump my famed Bill Maher interview from 2017. That will guarantee, though, that he won't invite me on for Breaking the Law. But it's the where I laid out after 9 months of Russian collusion hoax and not a shred of evidence. I said flat out, I will not be focusing on it, Breitbart, until you show me more evidence. Well, now we got more evidence that it was actually orchestrated from the top. Barack Obama ordering the intelligence community to undermine Trump before he took office, and him directly rushing to politicize it, to bypass standard procedures in order to do so. John Brennan apparently handpicked 5 CIA analysts and was the guy who drafted this report for this daily presidential briefing that was just became public. But if it had become public at the time, it would have made it very clear that it was all orchestrated from the top. Barack Obama had briefed the Clintons on their efforts that they were going to basically target Trump and put this out there. So the Clintons were in the loop on this. So many details released at Breitbart News today that Tulsi Gabbard had laid out there at a White House press briefing. We're reporting all of it for you. So head on over there for more. But Congress was misled the entire time. Brennan and Clapper were, of course, the ones who pushed the lie the hardest. And the FBI continued to investigate Trump even after it was very clear that this collusion, that this conspiracy was all manufactured. So many explosive details. And all of it just really does confirm what should have been observable by the naked eye. But the Steele dossier was used as a source in the 2017 Obama intelligence community assessment of Trump, which was, of course, bogus and fabricated by the Hillary Clinton. It were by her campaign, basically at the directive of Mark Elias, one of the absolute villains of the Breaking the Law book. No surprise there. So anyway, Putin and Russia did not help Trump, and it was also designed to obfuscate because that was Hillary Clinton's biggest weakness. I talk about this with Peter Schweitzer in our Breitbart Fight Club show today, Breitbart Confidential, if you care for his instant reaction to it. But he's in heavy book mode himself. So I got to share with him that Hillary Clinton had came out this was all orchestrated specifically because Hillary Clinton's biggest weakness was her ties to Russia. This is a huge point here that is worth repeating again and again. But Vladimir Putin held compromising information on Hillary Clinton in 2016, and he'd intended to release that information after the election because Hillary was going to beat Trump. So that was the impression in the Kremlin. They weren't orchestrating things for Trump. They had assumed that Hillary was in the driver's seat to win, and that she was actually more vulnerable because of ties to Russia than Trump was. So that was Putin's opinion. That was Russia's opinion. And that came out today with Gabbard's latest reporting. And that really does confirm a lot of the work of my colleague, Peter Schweitzer, who deserves an immense amount of credit for being so far ahead of the curve on this stuff. Because his reporting, think about this. He talked about Skolkovo, which is this Russian Silicon Valley that Hillary Clinton was basically orchestrating. And the ProPublica had a report that Hillary's number one vulnerability, according to polling, was that they had these deep ties to Russia. Recall Peter's reporting on how they had the State Department had essentially rubber stamped the selling of 20% of America's uranium reserves to Russia or a Russian-owned company. And in the meantime, the Russian connected entities were loading up the Clinton Foundation with 9 figures worth of donations and paying Bill Clinton $500,000 for a 45-minute speech. So all of this was designed to rig our democracy, to nullify an election. And who knows what other laws they broke. I don't know what laws were broken specifically, and that will be very interesting to see what happens next, to figure out if these were actual laws that were broken or whether or not this is somehow legal to do all these things. But it is confirmed that this was all a big stunt in order to subvert our democracy, and now we've got the details. And we do need to continue the investigations, continue to expose people, hopefully arrest people, but at a minimum, make this a essential moment in American politics, where people understand that the establishment media, the Democrat establishment, the deep state cannot be trusted, the intelligence community, all these people were in on this major, major, major cover-up, and they held out on it. They maintained it for a very long time. So, all right, we got some coverage from the White House press briefing. I think it's important to share some of this with you. Let's play some of this.
Do you believe President Obama is guilty of treason?
I'm leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I'm not an attorney, but as I've said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy.
Do you think that's going to come up on Michelle Obama's next podcast? That Barack maybe really was the man behind the Russian collusion hoax more than any other person, that he was the one who orchestrated it? Amazing. It's amazing stuff. And this is a bombshell report because they're saying that essentially Obama is getting referred to the DOJ for criminal implications. So the evidence we found and released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment of the Trump-Russia collusion. I mean, that is pretty unbelievable that we are now talking about Obama in the hot seat. Now, do any of you think Obama's going to serve a day in jail, that he's going to be tried, he's going to be perp walked? No. But what it could do is it could take down some real idols on the Democrat left, some people who were thought to be untouchable. Maybe their legacies could really be tarnished by this, and that's very productive, I think. That's the beginning of justice being served for President Trump. All right, I got another clip from the press conference. Check this out.
Any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former President Obama?
Correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
So a long coup, a treasonous conspiracy. She's continuing to use the word treason. Remember, treason, you're convicted of treason, that's punishable by death. And so I want to note the intensity of the rhetoric here. And that these people in the Trump administration right now really feel like they're fighting for the integrity of the whole country. This is not by accident that Tulsi Gabbard is using this type of language. This is to be taken dead seriously. So she's not a lawyer. She tells you she's not a lawyer. I don't think she is necessarily suggesting that there's going to be some sort of a conviction down the road. Maybe there is, maybe there won't. But note the intensity of the rhetoric is not a coincidence. These people feel like they're finally beginning to create justice for Donald Trump. And that is an amazing thing. It was clear, crystal clear, that Russia had always preferred Hillary Clinton because she was weak. Remember the Russian reset? And the media had told us nonstop that it was Donald Trump who was weak on Russia. And then Trump came in, and I've said so many times in this show, killed those Wagner troops in Syria, stopped the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, proactively sent weapons to Ukraine when they weren't in conflict with Russia. And in the meantime, when Joe Biden got in, he immediately starts acting like he starts talking tough, but in actuality, he made it much easier for Russia to invade Ukraine. So this is one of these things where we were always lied to on this issue, and people continue to hold out this lie, this delusion, and they cannot help themselves. It still goes on to this day where the pencil neck Adam Schiffs of the world still believe Trump colluded with Russia despite years and years of evidence suggesting it didn't happen. These people cannot be trusted, and if there's anything criminal that can be done in terms of prosecutions, I'm all for it. There are also other explosive moments in this press conference. Gabbard suggested that Hillary Clinton is reliant on heavy tranquilizers and has psycho-emotional problems. And this is just an amazing thing that it is she has essentially brain dead is the implication here, and not able to function without heavy medication, heavy drugs. And let me read this exact quote. There were high-level DNC emails that detail evidence of Hillary's, quote, psycho-emotional problems, uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness, and that then Secretary Clinton was allegedly on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers. Wow. The intelligence community intentionally suppressed intelligence that showed Putin was saving the most damaging material that he had in possession about Hillary until after the potential and likely victory. Amazing, amazing content. Amazing stuff, and that is it is hopefully the beginning of justice for Donald Trump. And that's where I'll bring back in my commentary on breaking the law, which I will tell you, I hope breaking the law accomplishes a lot for this country. I hope it resets a lot of conversations about cruel and unusual punishment, about the weaponization of the legal system, about the power district judges have over the executive branch, about how the court systems trials and various legal outcomes are basically determined once the judge and juries are set. So many important conversations I hope happen because of this book. But the number one most important thing that I do think we need to understand is that the Joe Biden White House conspired and colluded with various branches of the U.S. legal system to try to jail and bankrupt Donald Trump to stop him from becoming president again. That is a complete miscarriage of justice in this country. It's a miscarriage of our democracy. It's a national disgrace, and it's arguably one of the biggest scandals in the history of the republic, and people do not talk about it in that way. And we're certainly not investigating anything, as far as I know, to this end, and they need to start right now. This evidence that Tulsi Gabbard has brought out about the Trump-Russian collusion evidence, we should be seeing the exact same thing with the lawfare that was directed by the Joe Biden DOJ, with meetings that clearly took place inside of Joe Biden's White House to collude and coordinate across various apparati in the legal system in order to try to take out Donald Trump so he could not become president again. And it was only when all those things failed that Trump was nearly assassinated. And it was a miracle that he survived. It was literal divine intervention for him to survive. They did everything they could to try to take out Trump. And yet I'm not seeing the alarm and the outrage that we should see. Remember, the Russian collusion hoax, as horrible as it was fairly apparent to, I think, most Americans, or at least those who were not committed Democrats, that it was a hoax. We got the Mueller report suggesting it was a hoax. And even though that deeply undermined Donald Trump's first administration, a huge outrage, arguably a bigger outrage was the overt effort to rig a presidential election by the Joe Biden White House and Department of Justice via the lawfare system, and to use cruel and unusual punishment to try to intimidate the next generation of MAGA, America First politicians and stars to rise into public life, into the public sphere. Because the suggestion that if you achieve anything, if you succeed, then you will be the next subject, you will be the next victim of the lawfare superstructure. So that's the main thing about breaking the law that I think is important. And I lay out details, I connect dots, I provide a pattern of facts that I think will blow a lot of your minds when you see it. But there's clear evidence that there was collusion between the White House and these various anti-Trump lawfare operators. And I believe that these fact patterns, once they are revealed to the public, which I will do in a matter of 2 weeks or less, I think people are going to have a complete reset on the scope of the lawfare and how damaging it was to this country. So those of you who are on the fence about supporting the book at this point, I offer you that important public service announcement. Breaking the Law in bookstores in 2 weeks and available for pre-sale now. I gave more detail, by the way, on Charlie Kirk's show yesterday. I put that interview up. It's on my socials, stuff like that, if you want to check that out. Okay, Justice Department had told President Trump that his name may be among those in the Epstein files. So who didn't know that? I've been through this history before. We went through it on the show. I think it was last Friday's show. That Trump, of course, knew Epstein. There are many photos of Epstein. The Trump cut off connection to Epstein circa 2004, and Epstein was arrested in 2006. So I made a mistake last week. I said allegations were – maybe there were some allegations by that point. But the arrest did not occur until 2006 for the child sex trafficking stuff. Trump had long since cut off ties with Epstein. So there's no evidence at all that Trump was some sort of a child sex predator. And to think that there was and that Joe Biden held it back is impossible. And yet the Wall Street Journal out there with another bombshell. And these are even different reporters in the last set. So they're glutton for punishment over there, the Wall Street Journal. Justice Department told Trump in May that his name is among the Epstein files. So what are we supposed to do with this information? We knew Trump knew Epstein. This is part of the point about this Epstein list. Do we know what's in the list, who's on the list, how long is the list? Does the list indicate, does the list indicate if you're on it that you're a child sex pest or that you're someone who went on Epstein's plane once or that you did business with Epstein? We don't know. We don't know any of it. And that's, I think, partially why the list has not come out. And obviously blatantly mishandled in the way that the Department of Justice, particularly Pam Bondi, talked about the Epstein files. And she certainly allowed for all the worst conspiracy theories to percolate in the public. It's a big mistake. But overall, we've got no new information, and yet we get to keep behaving as though each new drop in the media is yet another bombshell. And until there's full transparency, this is now going to dog Trump. So it's unfortunate, but it's certainly the case at this point that this is going to go on and on and on. That said, the winning continues, and I do want to focus more on the winning on this show than any other thing. And I checked in with John Carney today because we got some new trade deals afoot, and he reports to me that Trump is opening markets for U.S. products all over the world. This isn't protectionism. It's actually about pro-trade. Trump's tariffs is actually helping him become the world's greatest free trader, Carney says. And tariffs for imports and no tariffs on our exports is just seems like the template. So tariffs and stuff is coming in, but no tariffs on stuff that's coming out. All right, we know that good coffee is kind of easy to find. There's a lot of good coffee out there, but great coffee, that's a different story. And when I was introduced to Crockett Coffee, I knew this was something special. This is roasted to perfection in small batches on purpose by experts who love the taste of great coffee and are conscientious about how it's made and who's making it. It's roasted in our nation's heartland and it's delivered fresh to your home. When you enjoy Crockett Coffee, you're also supporting an anti-communist, pro-American brand of coffee founded by our friends Clay Travis and Buck Sexton, who are good broadcasters and are apparently dang good at making a cup of coffee as well. The perfect type of thing to sip at a I don't know, a mountain campfire like a Western settler, or in your office while you're doing a podcast. It is just really high quality stuff. You guys know I'm a coffee snob, married to an Italian. I like to hit that dark roast. They also sent me some mild roast, which was delicious. They got a light roast. They got a decaf. They got a mushroom organic blend. That's the new hotness. They got K-Cups. Lots of different options for you. And part of your support goes to Tunnel to Towers Foundation, which is a great way to give back and remind people that Crockett Coffee, people there, they pledge to never forget. Easy. Go online, crockettcoffee.com. Crockett like it as in Davy Crockett. crockettcoffee.com. Use my first name, Alex. You get 20% off your first order. That's crockettcoffee.com. Use my name, Alex, as the promo code for 20% off. Good people and a dang good cup of coffee. You guys know I would not endorse it if it wasn't quite delightful. All right, we got another victory on the economic front. Trump announcing a massive trade deal with Japan, 15% tariffs, $550 billion in investment. This is just deep winning. He says we've completed a massive deal with Japan, perhaps the largest deal ever made. Japan will invest in my direction $550 billion in the United States, which will receive 90% of the profits. The deal will create hundreds of thousands of jobs. There's never been anything like it. Perhaps more importantly, Japan will open their country to trade, including cars and trucks, rice, and certain other agricultural products. Japan will pay reciprocal tariffs to the United States at 15%. It's a very exciting time for the U.S. Thank you for your attention to this important matter. It's just a great win for Trump. I connected with Carney on this stuff, and he's contending to me that Trump is not doing protectionism. He's actually opening up trade around the world. I think he's right about this, is that Trump is using the tariffs as a means to be able to actually increase trade throughout the world and throughout the United States, because tariffs are for imports and no tariffs on our exports. And the economists who forecast bad things for tariffs are assumed that there'd be some sort of retaliation, but Trump is guaranteeing there's not. We're getting the opposite. We're raising tariffs and they're lowering tariffs. So this is very important because every economic theory would suggest that this is a win. If you can get this outcome, if you can get an outcome where we are raising our tariffs and they're lowering theirs, but no one anticipated Trump could do this. This is where him being the negotiator, the art of the deal is so important. But the examples we've got, Vietnam, Indonesia, Japan, Philippines, these are just the recent ones. It is all these new deals where our tariffs are going up and theirs are going down, and they're all around China, and they're all going to be able to help us beef up the economies of those nations that have largely been in the sinosphere. So all of this is all rosy to China. All of this is defying all the critics, all the academics, all of these economists who have all these jobs programs around the world where they keep getting paid to give terrible advice. So it's just wild and terrific. Everyone said Trump was going to alienate allies. They're just getting closer with him, it seems like. He seems like they were saying he's going to drive people in the arms of China. It seems like the opposite. It seems like people are becoming more dependent, more independent, and more interested in cooperation with the United States. So this, of course, creates huge opportunity for American businesses. So our markets used to be a part of this crooked system where we were all getting hosed, where our manufacturing was getting outsourced around the world. And now all of our businesses are going to be able to sell all over the place and perhaps actually get a better ROI on those investments that they make. It's hard to say more than that. It's kind of a mind-blowing win. I almost feel emotional over it. It's that level. It's that good. And the critics were all so wrong. And those of us in the America First economics side of things, the people who argued on behalf of Donald Trump's economics and the America First economic policies, and Scott Bessent's Treasury Secretary, all of us looking so good today. Very happy about this. Great news. And so this is why the left continues to melt down. They don't know how to deal with it. And I have pulled the clip. This is Jeff Daniels, who I know Jeff Daniels most from Dumb and Dumber, but he's been in some other stuff too. He's an actor. But he was I think he was Harry in Dumb and Dumber, or was he Lloyd? I don't remember. They plays the same character. That's why it's such a funny movie. Like, it works out. It's the same character, Harry and Lloyd. All right, so Jeff Daniels, he's out there on Nicole Wallace's podcast, which is actually quite popular. It's a very popular podcast. Let's hear what he had to say.
I still think about Kamala and how I think she would have been a good choice. I don't care what they say. because she would have done what Lincoln did. Liz Cheney would have been Secretary of State.
Team of rivals.
The sadness is just so delish. You can't help but love it. Oh, I can't stop thinking about Kamala. And Liz Cheney would have been Secretary of State. He says it like he's got some gravitas. He's really just a sad boy. He's a weepy boy.
Yeah, Team of Rivals. Doris Kearns Goodwin wrote the book about it. That's what Lincoln did. Surrounded himself with the people who would disagree with him.
But Liz Cheney doesn't disagree. This is the whole thing about the Never Trumpers, is the Bill Kristols of the world, they agree now with Democrats more than John Fetterman agrees with Democrats. So it's just Liz Cheney is just a power mad person who wants to attach herself to the ruling class. And the ruling class are all Democrats. The establishment is all Democrats. The warmonger crowd is all Democrats. So two Republicans who don't function as Republicans, her and Adam Kinzinger, Slava Ukraini, are the only two people who were really with the Democrats, and all the other Republicans are unified with Trump now. The Republican Party is so unified now. So there's just not that many defectors anymore. They're all Democrats now.
With them, not the people who would, take a knee and go, yeah, more tariffs, sir, more. It's the madness of King George. And just the deterioration of the Republican Party. I mean, look, I'm just an actor. What do I know? But when Mitch started stacking the courts 25 years ago, I said it on your show once. They can see it coming. The new America that is diverse and treats everyone with equality and respect and dignity.
Okay, first of all, when he says he's just an actor and then he goes on to just give his opinion, it's such a funny self-own, because he feels like maybe he's inoculating himself somehow, but he's not. He's just owning himself, because his opinions are so uninformed. They're historically illiterate and they're not nuanced or interesting, but he says it with the tone of voice like a guy who's played a news anchor on TV, which he has. So this last bit is just rich. It's so thin. Check out this last bit.
That is diverse, and they can see it coming. The new America that is diverse and treats everyone with equality and respect and dignity, kind of like Jesus did.
Oh, man. It's just like every trope, every cliche. This is what's so loathsome about these people, is the just insistence on cliches. Okay, so we're doing a lot of diversity around here. Can I ask how it's going? Like, are we getting happier because of diversity right now? Are we more cohesive as a country? Are we less medicated? Are we more godly? Are we more prosperous? Or has our experiment with obsessive diversity coincided with more communities balkanizing and not integrating, bigger gap between the rich and the poor that's gone on, more people unhappy, more people skeptical about the future of the country? Now, I'm kind of a pro-diversity guy in my own personal life. It suits me. I like diverse music, diverse food. If you just see my neighborhood is a diverse neighborhood. I've never lived in a white neighborhood in my life. It's just one of those things where I'm cool with it on a personal level. But if you look back at the macro, diversity has not been our strength. National unity has been our strength. Cohesion has been our strength. And it is, when they go to America's first thing is diversity, that really is not what makes America great. What makes America great is we have a unique set of values that we used to rally behind as a country. In God we trust, which we don't anymore. E pluribus unum of many one, which is completely contrary to the black dorms that I live next to at UC Berkeley. Liberty, which is, again, we're seeing freedoms eroded all the time in this country. The left was constantly trying to take away the freedoms of people just for disagreeing with them politically. Case in point, Donald Trump and all the lawfare that he went through. These guys don't like the First Amendment. They don't like the Second Amendment. These guys don't like any of our American values. So the problem isn't lack of diversity or rejection of diversity. Is that what did we do? We took American values and replaced them with DEI, cultural Marxism. And that's been the leading lie of the Democrat Party. So it is just... it is just so trite too. It's just, I feel like we're in 20. When did Obama run? 2008. I mean, doesn't that feel like what these talking points are out of? And these of invoking Jesus, as if Jesus would have somehow supported the godless Democrat Party of today. where people reject organized religion and instead just try to go to therapy and get prescriptions. All right, let's play this out.
We're ready for that. And Mitch and company could see it coming. They were going to be the minority. So they just started, and then here we are. And now you got it.
Well, we're going to be the minority, of course, because you guys are going to import as many Democrats as you could to make sure you're the majority to offset the children that we conservatives have. So you guys were trying to do that. So don't act like it was so outrageous if people were starting to think, well, wait a minute. If we just continue to import a bunch of people into the country limitlessly, we have the most lax immigration policies on earth and the most lax illegal immigration policies on earth, then we're not going to have a country that resembles our current country. And when people are nostalgic for whatever era in America that it is that you're nostalgic for, then it does not resemble the America of today post open borders. So I know this in my state of California, which has been completely ruined. And the cardinal sin, as I've written about in every time I've ever put in pen to pad, and I do it again in Breaking the Law, I write about the cardinal sin was the lawlessness in California with illegal immigration. And if you think it's a coincidence that people like me and people like Stephen Miller came from California from the exact same time and immediately homed in on immigration, illegal immigration being the number one issue, driving the America First movement, it's not a coincidence. So, but you can't grapple with that if you're a left-winger, if you're a Jeff Daniels, if you're a Nicole Wallace, because to grapple with that is to reject yourself for the last 20 years. Your last 20 years of ideas are not hitting with people. But we don't even have to take his argument seriously. We really should just make fun of how sad he is because they have everything. They have everything. They got the culture. They got the fame. They got the money. They got all the cool stuff, and they're still so unhappy because we're winning, because our values are better and our ideas are better. All right. So then they've got another approach, which is, I guess, just F-bombs. Here's Jon Stewart.
Go fuck yourself! 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 Wait, bring it down. Let's bring it down. Let it be quiet. Fuck yourself! Just go fuck yourself! Everybody!
You know, that's only half this clip. I can keep going, but I think we get the point. But that's where they're mad at Trump because I guess Trump got Colbert fired. But remember, Colbert was losing $40 million a year. It is not supposed to be welfare when you have a late night show. You're supposed to make money. There's supposed to be things that generate money. They're so high profile. You get these great guests on there, famous people, all this glamour. You get your own bands. You know how much fun we would have at Breitbart if I could afford my own band on the show? We have so much fun. I got big things planned for the show. It's not going to be a gospel choir. The show would rule if I had a gospel choir. So these guys have all the resources, they have all the opportunity, and they blew it. So, and all they can do is swear to music. So they have no fresh blood, and this has been my topic, why I'm so interested in the Hunter Biden story. I talk about this with Peter today as well. But part of the reason why I am so interested in Hunter Biden is because he's so much more interesting than the mainstream Democrats, and yet they deplatform him too. They don't really want him to speak. He just goes to some absurd podcast because they don't want anyone who is interesting defending the Biden legacy. They don't want that. So even though I don't agree with his take on the Bidens, he's much more compelling than the guys they're giving us. They're giving us these corporate sanitized Pod Save America. They're giving us Jon Stewart again for 30 years past his peak, or I guess 20 plus years past his peak. I want to be fair. They don't got anyone. They got nothing. They got absolutely nothing. So, okay, that's fine. Good. Swear at us. Who's this appealing to? This is just soothing. It's a cope. It's a soothe for aging Gen X boomer liberals who are faced with the reality that the America they envisioned, where it is secular, where it is leftist, where everyone is gay or trans, and that illegal aliens are controlling most of our major cities, is not going to happen. We're not allowing for it. We're standing up to it. We're going to go back to the time when America was a homeland for people with a coherent culture, coherent language, coherent values. And we're all working together on behalf of America and Americans. So that's what we're doing. That's the plan. And you saying go F yourself to Trump might feel good, but you're not getting anywhere with it. So that's fine. Let them do it. It's fine. It's good content for me. I'm glad they're doing it. All right, other stuff that's going on. Emmanuel Macron, launching a defamation suit against U.S. podcaster Candace Owens over her allegedly preposterous claim the French First Lady was born a man. Now, you guys have not heard me bring this up on the show, because I frankly cannot get too in the weeds on this, and people I know, some of you in the audience have spent hours and hours on this. But Candace Owens, famous podcaster, who you guys know, who is doing a lot of that flirting with the anti-Semitic stuff now, and carved out a big niche for herself online, has obsessively documented what she believes to be evidence that Brigitte Macron, Emmanuel Macron, very weird French prime minister, his very weird wife, actually was born a guy. And it seems like mostly from what I've been able to watch online is that her argument is that there are photos of a guy named Trogno who apparently, according to AI software, has the same face as a child. His face is the same as Brigitte Macron's now. And then other photos of Brigitte Macron, if using AI technology, the alleged photos of her in the past are not the same as her face today, which leads her to believe that she's actually a guy and went through a gender grooming thing with Emmanuel Macron. So I only bring this up because it's very noteworthy that Candace is theoretically betting the house on this. That if it turns out that this defamation suit against her by the president of France fails, then she's going to look very, very good. And if it succeeds, then it is, I believe, should be evidence to those of you that you should be getting different sources for your news. Not to say that you can't view her as an entertainer, but this is a big bet in the sense that she is either on the absolute cutting edge of a monumental blockbuster story and had the fearlessness, the courage to get it out there and wins big, or if she loses, then it really is that she had just completely compromised a big news brand that she was building for just a pure performance art, theater of the mind type brand. So I'm curious to see where it turns out, and that's why I put a marker in it now. Other things that are out there. The Trump administration has directed national parks to remove signs critical of America. This is great, but you guys always know my follow-up on this. Why was it there in the first place? How could we have a society where that was there in the first place? I don't know, but it is. Other good news, the U.S. Olympic officials are complying with Trump's executive order, and they're going to bar trans athletes from female sports. A minor win, but a win nonetheless. Another one that should not be necessary, but it is. At this point in time, it is unfortunately necessary. We need to make sure that we are protecting women's sports for women, and recall the California dream. A chicken in every pot and a penis in every female locker room. That's their goal, and they will not stop until they get it. So every time Trump fights back and brings someone to heel, then they will get congratulated on the Marlow Show. That is today's show. That is it for now in terms of fresh shows, but I've got some great stuff for you with Fresh Boyle, Fresh Emma Joe, and some terrific interviews in the can for the next week or so. And then I will be back ready to get into book launch mode, hopefully get the show on everyone's radar who wasn't aware of it. I'm looking forward to that, and I hope you'll be along for the ride with me. Thanks to producer Misty, all of you in the audience for telling 10,000 friends and family members about the Marlow Show, emailing me with any feedback, aloha@alexmarlow.com, and I will talk to you next time.